Ago to implement the 65-game rule policy. The league put the rule in place to motivate players to not miss so many games during the regular season. Several high-profile players, including LeBron, Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, will not be eligible for postseason awards because they have missed more than 17 games. LeBron has missed 18 games this season. For the first time in 21 years, he will not be eligible for selection to the All-NBA team or other honors. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, reporting for duty. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. Last but not least, be sure to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel. That way, you don't just get to hear us, but you get to see us in action, and jump in the YouTube group chat to sound off. We just might incorporate your comment into the show. So speaking of the show, we have a great show in store for you. Lots of trending headlines today, particularly as it relates to Iran and the war footing that the United States and Israel are on currently. We've got the right one here to help us unpack that. I should say the right two here to help us unpack that. I want to welcome to the show Professor P.L. De Silva. Dr. De Silva, he lectures at the School of Diplomacy and International Relations at Seton Hall University and is also a visiting professor at the Faculty of Humanities in South Africa. He is a regular contributor to Al Jazeera Net in Q News in Cairo. Welcome to the show, Dr. De Silva.
Very nice to be on the show and very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. We're also joined with Mr. Wiertsema. I hope I got that right. If not, I'm sure he'll correct me. He holds a master's degree in social anthropology. He is a longtime activist for environmental protection, economic justice, and international arms control. In 1990, he co-founded the Dutch organization Both Ends, that's working with civil society organizations throughout the world towards the protection of environmental and human rights. Welcome to the show, Mr. Wiertsema. Did I get that right?
Thank you. Very right. Nice to be with you.
It's very nice to be with you. Very nice to be with both of you. As I mentioned before, a lot of folks have the war in Iran on our mind. We can't take it off of our mind because we're already experiencing the implications of this military aggression on the part of the United States and Israel. When we come forward, I want to unpack some of the biggest trending headlines related to Iran. Already, we're hearing President Trump characterizing talks with Iran one way, while the leadership of Iran says it's not happening. We're going to try and separate the fact from the fiction as best we can. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with our guests when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
La, 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 la.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Good old-fashioned soul. Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. While Jesse Jackson Jr. is away, I'm in great company to dig into one of the biggest trending headlines today. Lots of folks talking about the military action that it's afoot, the war footing of the United States and Israel with Iran. I'm joined with Professor P.L. De Silva. He's an international scholar, practitioner in global affairs, diplomacy, media, peace building, and human security, with over 40 years of experiential knowledge and expertise in backroom negotiations in deeply divided societies. We're also joined with Mr. Wirt Wurtsema, who currently is the chair of the board of Stop Arms Trade. It's a group of independent researchers and activists on arms trade, the arms industry, and lobbying. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And so first things first, Dr. De Silva, I want to give you an opportunity to share from your vantage point what's keeping you up late at night as you follow these developments in Iran. And for our listeners and viewers that are a little less familiar about the latest, Let me just say that Iran today dismissed an American plan to pause the war in the Middle East, issuing their own counter proposal instead, as it launched more attacks on Israel and Gulf Arab countries. It's as reported by the Associated Press. We know that 2 officials from Pakistan described the 15-point U.S. proposal broadly, saying it addressed sanction relief and a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, limits on missiles, and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil is shipped. As of right now, the death toll from the war has risen. More than 1,500 people in Iran, over 1,000 people in Lebanon, 16 in Israel, and 13 U.S. Military members, as well as a number of civilians on land and sea in the Gulf region. And so I ask again, Dr. De Silva, what's keeping you up late at night?
This is about market manipulation. While everybody else is counting the missiles and hypersonic missiles and drones and bombs and things like that, President Trump and his family and friends are raking in money by manipulating the markets. And what can I tell you? There are 2 political betting sites that should be banned. They're called Polymarket and Kalshi. Now, Donald Trump Jr. is on the advisory board of Polymarket. And just before Trump made his announcement, I'm talking to the Iranians, etc., they've placed a huge bet on oil. And I'll just like to read the numbers, right? Before Donald, tweeted in all caps on Truth Social, which is, by the way, it's an unofficial, privately owned Twitter account. It's not from the US government. But anyway, that's how he conducts official government business. Now, when that happened, $580 million were placed in oil bets. And there was a $2 trillion increase in market cap. And there was a surge in the S&P 500. The stock market lost $1 trillion and then went up again. And its family and friends, like the Commerce Secretary, who is the former chairman and CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, these are the people who are kind of raking it in. This needs to be thoroughly investigated, to the fullest extent of the law. And these criminals need to be put behind bars. There is no way for insider trading. Now, these are the big guys. Now, inside Capitol Hill, there's also a lot of insider trading going on. This is all criminal enterprise. So while blood and treasure is being shed in the Middle East and in the Gulf, back home, these crooks, really, they are crooks. It's the art of the steal. So that is what keeps me up. And I am actually quite upset. And we need to educate our people and the Congressional Black Caucus to hold these people and their feet to the fire and bring them to justice.
The art of the steal. Those words really sort of break through the noise, especially given that one of the president's big claims to fame is his book, The Art of the Deal. The Art of the Deal. Mr. Wurtsema, same question. What is keeping you up late at night?
Well, my deepest worry is where this conflict, this war of aggression will head to. Actually, I mean, one of the supposed aims of this aggression was to prevent Iran or the regime in Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. First of all, I mean, I like to point out that never any evidence has been produced that Iran was on the brink of developing such a weapon. I mean, that being said, there is only one nation in the Middle East or in West Asia that is having nuclear weapons, and that is Israel. One of the 2 states that started this act of aggression. And I'm really worried that Iran, in my view, totally righteously is resisting this aggression, that in the end it will be attacked by nuclear weapons. And that would be bringing the world to really a very serious disaster.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Wurtsema, if I'm tracking with what you're saying, you are making a very clear point that as this war with Iran drags on, we might see an increase in the likelihood where a nuclear weapon might be used. And you have pointed out that in the region, Israel has such a weapon. Are you fearful that Israel might actually deploy a nuclear weapon on Iran?
Definitely. I think historically already Golda Meir said in the 70s that Israel was prepared to use such a weapon against Iran because they really consider Iran as the biggest enemy of the small state of Israel in West Asia. And given the record of the current president Netanyahu, and or the prime minister, I should say, Netanyahu of Israel, and also the record of frivolous of the president of the United States, I am really very afraid, scared that these crazy people will use these weapons. And I think it's a very serious danger. And I think it's up to the American politicians and the Congress in America actually to stop the American president from considering such options. But I think it's also up to the United States to withhold Israel from using this option. Because Israel, I think, in the end, has no future if not granted by the United States. So the United States is holding the key here.
Dr. De Silva, I saw you nodding along as Mr. Wurtsema sort of laid out his argument, really his deep fear that Israel may at some point consider deploying a nuclear weapon against Iran. I want to go back to something that you said earlier in this conversation, calling on members of Congress, particularly the Congressional Black Caucus, to step up efforts to rein in some of the corruption that is afoot, that is enabling conflicts like this to pull focus from what's really going on. There are a number of Americans that are concerned about the pro-Netanyahu lobby in the United States, a pro-Netanyahu effort to keep members of Congress from reining in any sort of military support to Israel, from curtailing any support to Israel. I want to give you an opportunity to react directly to that claim. There are folks that feel like the ironclad relationship between the United States and Israel, has no guardrails, has no checks and balances. It is about supporting a friend of the United States no matter what. Should that relationship be reimagined in any way?
Most definitely. I mean, my sources within the Pentagon are complaining that at every single meeting, including closed-door meetings that they have, these are attended by Mossad officers and IDF officers. So this country is occupied by the Israelis. I mean, can you imagine? The Pentagon, every single meeting, you have Israeli officers from the intelligence services, the Mossad, and from the Israeli Defense Forces who are present. right? That's number one. Number two, the money that's there, that's corrupting our politicians and our legislators. So Miriam Edelson and AIPAC and others have for decades been corrupting our legislators, okay? And therefore, this is the time that they're coming in to call in their favors. And they are the ones who are propping up Netanyahu, whose political life is hanging by a proverbial thread, because no sooner than the war ends, he's going up in jail for at least 3 cases against him, not to mention this whole disastrous war that has destroyed the infrastructure and the economy of Israel. And for what purpose? What has he achieved? What has he gained? And the same question has to be asked of Donald Trump. What have you gained for the United States from a strategic or tactical of value, apart from aggrandizing and enriching family and friends?
Mr. Wurtsima, to the point that was raised about what's been gained, I think a lot of Americans today and folks of conscience around the world are asking, well, who's the White House even talking to? It's worth noting that just today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declined to identify which Iranian or Iranians the administration is negotiating with. The press secretary also declined to comment on the 15-point ceasefire plan put forward by the United States that was rejected by Iran. She cautioned White House reporters about reporting about speculative points or speculative plans from anonymous sources. It's also worth noting the White House never confirmed that full plan, that there are elements of truth to it, but some of the stories that we have read that the White House says are not factual. What do you make of the fact that the White House is saying there's a negotiation that is happening with Iran that Iran says is not happening?
Well, I like to remember actually that Iran, the current regime in Iran, and the United States government were dealing with negotiations before the aggression started. So while they were doing the negotiations, they suddenly changed tack and out of the blue attacked Tehran. I mean, one can argue that it was Israel that started, but I think Israel and the US are together in this. So what kind of negotiations are they talking about? I mean, I don't think the current US government is a reliable partner in any negotiations. Of course, they are talking around, but they are talking on social media all the time. I mean, negotiations happen normally just behind closed doors, first confidentially. You need to build trust. And I mean, all that is shattered deliberately, I would say, very deliberately. And like Professor Da Silva is pointing out, I mean, it's just to make money for the family themselves, for some of the people in control in Washington, D.C. at the moment. So it's very upsetting and troubling. And I don't think there are any negotiations going on at the moment.
Yeah. When we come forward, more on the news that is afoot in Iran, we know that the Associated Press is reporting that the Houthis say that they back Iran but will stay on the sidelines. What does that mean in terms of any hope of bringing this conflict to an end? More with our guest, Dr. Da Silva and Mr. Wurtsima. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing back on claims from 2 former top aides who say his administration was hostile toward law enforcement.
The women and men who serve our city on the front line deserve the ultimate level of respect.
Johnson defended their firing, saying fighting crime takes a broader team effort. A Florida woman has pleaded not guilty after allegedly opening fire on Rihanna's Los Angeles home. The woman faces multiple charges, including attempted murder, after prosecutors say she fired 20 rounds. Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, and their family were inside at the time, but no one was injured. And Tiger Woods returned to competitive play Tuesday in Match 2 of the Top Golf League. His team, Jupiter Lynx, fell to Los Angeles, marking his first appearance since being sidelined by disc replacement surgery last year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, for a limited time, get a free tire when you buy 3. That's right, buy 3, get 1 free. Valid on select tires with installation purchase. And synthetic oil changes start at only $39.99. Find your nearest store at bigotires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are back in action tonight. They wrap up their 6-game road trip at Indiana. The Clippers are at home tonight against Toronto. The NBA Players Association wants the league to modify or get rid of the 65-game rule, the rule that requires players to play in at least 65 games to be eligible for postseason honors. The problem for the Players Association is that they agreed with the league 3 years ago to implement the 65-game rule policy. The league put the rule in place to motivate players to not miss so many games during the regular season. Several high-profile players, including LeBron, Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, will not be eligible for postseason awards because they have missed more than 17 games. LeBron has missed 18 games this season. For the first time in 21 years, he will not be eligible for selection to the All-NBA team or other honors. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. 2 million out of 4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utility's failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. And your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your guest host, in for our friend and brother Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm delighted to be with you this hour, joined with two incredible leaders. I'm talking about Professor De Silva. He's an international scholar practitioner in global affairs, diplomacy, media, peace building, and human security. Over 40 years of experience there, particularly when it comes to backroom negotiations in deeply divided societies. I'm sure his work is in high demand. We're also joined by Mr. Wiert Sima. He is the chair of the board of the Stop Arms Trade, a group of independent researchers and activists on arms trade and arms industry and lobbying. He's co-founder of the Dutch organization Both Ends. And you can check them out by going to bothends.org. That's BOTHENDS.org. They are working with civil society organizations around the world towards the protection of the environment and human rights. Gentlemen, thank you again for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Well, a pleasure to have you here, and really to help us separate the fact from the fiction. We know that Iran is on the minds of so many folks. There have been a number of developments, including this development from the Houthis, Yemen's Iran-allied Houthi rebels. They repeated their support for the Islamic Republic despite not taking part in the war against the United States and Israel. According to the Associated Press, they stressed that any decision to join the fight would be made independently and not dictated by Tehran. 3 Houthi officials told the Associated Press that the group is historically and religiously connected with Iran, calling it an ally of Yemen, but taking part in the war will be solely a decision made by the folks in Yemen. The officials spoke, of course, on conditions of anonymity. Mr. Wiertsema, please help me understand, what do you make of this statement coming from some of the Houthi leaders at this hour in the conflict?
Well, I think, that's the biggest danger that we are facing, and we are in uncharted territory. The war is really about divide and rule. Yeah, so, and I think the Houthis have been already since the war in Gaza started, been very clear and explicit, but also before that, explicit on their support of the Palestinian cause. Yeah, so I think the Houthis, the position of the Houthis has been very clear. The Houthis, they are not exactly friendly with their neighbor Saudi Arabia. We also see news that the king of Saudi Arabia reportedly should have urged or put pressure on, pressure, I don't know whether they can put pressure, but has urged the Trump administration to really continue the war on Iran. Yeah, so I think it just shows that the plot is thickening. Yeah, and of course we know the position of the Houthis. I mean, I think there is nothing new in this latest report.
And Dr. De Silva, to Mr. Wertsima's point, yeah, the Saudis may not have much pressure they can apply to the Houthis, but the Saudis are a player in this conflict. Talk to us about what role you suspect the Saudis might be playing or could play behind the scenes. We know that the Crown Prince, among other Saudi leaders, have been investing pretty heavily in the U.S. economy, whether we're talking about some of the innovation that's afoot related to artificial intelligence, whether you're talking about the proposed merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery. We know that some of that money's come from the Middle East. It's come from the Saudis, it's come from the Qataris, it's come from leaders in UAE. And, you know, they can't be comfortable with this conflict with Iran, this war in Iran, spilling out across the Gulf states, interrupting the oil supply to at least 20% of the world. You know, this is not the kind of disruption that people like to see in their neighborhood. And so based on your experience in negotiations, what role might the Saudis be playing behind the scenes?
I think the Saudis and the other Gulf countries have to have a real rethink as to who their allies are and what the future is. Because in a brilliant article, my colleague Yahya Ghanem, the Egyptian journalist, a top journalist, he wrote an op-ed in TRT News saying that the clock is in the hands of the Iranians and time is on their side. Time is not on the side of Netanyahu, nor Donald Trump. They need to do something flashy, splashy to catch the optics. But actually, the truth of the matter is that the Iranians have missile domination over Israel and US military bases. The US and Israel are out of interceptors. The Iron Dome has failed. Arrow is not intercepting. THAAD is not intercepting. The PAC-3 missiles, the Patriot missiles, are also not effective, and so is the David Sling, which is medium range, and also Iron Dome, which is short range. None of these things are actually working. So therefore, on the military front, putting in our special forces and the Marines is actually throwing them into a meat grinder. And Trump does not care about sacrificing blood and treasure for his hubris, and not willing to admit that he had made a phenomenal strategic blunder in following Netanyahu in attacking the Iranians, and not listening to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, 4-star Air Force General Dan Kane, who said, we are going to run out of munitions, and our allies are not going to support us. And you can see the NATO are keeping out of this dogfight. So there are a lot of things that are going on. And as Yahya Ghanem said, The Iranians have the clock. All they have to do is to run down the clock. And Netanyahu and Trump are toast. Trump is going to lose, and the GOP, the Republican Party, are going to lose the midterm elections. And after that, we're going to see Trump getting impeached, and Netanyahu will also end up in jail. That's my prediction.
When we come forward in our remaining minutes with our incredible guest, Mr. Wurtsema, I understand there's an anecdote that you have to share with us from a meeting with the late, great Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., meeting that you all had when the world was in a very different place. I want to give you a chance to share that story and more. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Injured in an accident? Insurance not paying what you deserve? The Law Office of Hamlin will get you paid. Call 424-266-9175. That's 424-266-9175. The Law Office of Hamlin, your legal vibe for the culture.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
KBLA.
I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and really delighted to be joined with my guest this hour. Dr. De Silva is with us, and as is Mr. Wurtsema is with us as well. Collectively, I would say they have nearly 100 years of experience when it comes to backroom negotiations and helping to keep the world safe and with nuclear disarmament, among so many other important environmental and human rights issues. We are thankful for your work and your witness. In our remaining minutes, it's worth noting that while we were on break, there are reports that Republican Representative Nancy Mace says that she will not support U.S. troops on the ground in Iran after a closed-door House briefing, warning that the gap between the public, what the public was told, and what lawmakers were briefed on is, quote, deeply troubling. That is the kind of crack that gets harder to hide as the war drags on. Dr. De Silva, what do you make of this? The fact that a standard bearer in the Republican Party, in the Republican House, is drawing a bright line and saying she won't support troops on the ground in Iran.
So this is not surprising, because the very first closed-door session, the briefing session for senators, we had reactions from a number of senators, and one of them was Elizabeth Warren, who said categorically, there is no plan, it's all lies. And then another senator said, Trump is out of control. He said he attacked Iran because he had a feeling. So this is the kind of situation where there's no strategic thinking, there's no tactical thinking, and the Trump administration and Hegseth and others are not willing to listen to people who know better from within the Pentagon and Joint Special Operations Command. And now they're using presidential executive authority to deploy the 82nd, the 75th Rangers, which is part of Delta Force. All of these guys are going to be sent into the meat grinder, and along with the Marines, so the two expeditionary units. So the numbers are not enough. The Iranians have 1 million man strong military, and if you use von Clausewitz's theories of combating an army like that, you would need 2 or 3 times that number to have boots on the ground and fight the Iranians, and it will be extremely bloody and costly, as we saw in the Iraq-Iran war, right? So this is an unwinnable situation, and we are going to, lose blood and treasure, young American lives, because of the hubris and literally the stupidity of Trump and the people around him.
In our remaining minutes, Mr. Wurtsema, I understand that you've been down memory lane and you have remembered a meeting that you had many years ago with a warrior for peace around the world, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Talk to us about that moment with Reverend Jackson when the world was indeed in a very different place.
Yeah, that was indeed a great, memorable event. That was at a World Peace Conference in Vienna, I think in 1980 or 1981. It was still the heydays of the Cold War. But there were peace activists from both the communist bloc at that time, Eastern Europe and Soviet Union, and from the Western countries, including America. And Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., he came and speak to the audience, and actually he gave a very wonderful, inspiring speech, making clear that the fight for peace and the fight for civil rights, as he had been involved in all his life, together with Dr. Martin Luther King and, of course, so many other Afro-American activists, that fight and the fight for peace are deeply interconnected. So what we need at this point, I think, is that sort of leadership to come out more from America. I know that there is leadership in America also taking a stand against the current administration. But I think the inspiration that Reverend Jackson Sr. gave not only to Afro-Americans and to civil rights movement in America, but to the wider world, that sort of inspiration is really lacking in these times. So I think, it is important to note that in that way, the United States of America in the current days, is losing some of the standing it had with global fights for justice and peace that it had in the past. So that is, I think, telling also where Professor De Silva says that, look, America is currently in for a losing war. I think actually the lack of leadership shows that also America is losing ground. So I see other sounds. I have many contacts with civil society activists around the globe, and the credibility of America as also a society where there is leadership for a different world, that leadership is gone. And I think that is troubling, because we need this alternative movement desperately to create the world of peace that we need and that the world needs at this moment.
Our thanks to our two incredible guests that bring over, well, nearly 100 years of experience between the two of them. Professor P.L. De Silva, an international scholar practitioner in global affairs, diplomacy, media, and peace building. He lectures over at the School of Diplomacy and International Relations at the Seton Hall University. And Mr. Wiert Wurtsema, who is a social anthropologist. He is the co-founder of Both Ends, working with civil society organizations throughout the world. He's chair of the Stop Arms Trade, and we can't wait to have you all back again soon. You've been listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is pushing back on claims from two former top aides who say his administration was hostile toward law enforcement.
The women and men who serve our city on the front line deserve the ultimate level of respect.
Johnson defended their firing, saying fighting crime takes a broader team effort. A Florida woman has pleaded not guilty after allegedly opening fire on Rihanna's Los Angeles home. The woman faces multiple charges, including attempted murder, after prosecutors say she fired 20 rounds. Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, and their family were inside at the time, but no one was injured. And Tiger Woods returned to competitive play Tuesday in Match 2 of the Topgolf League. His team, Jupiter Lynx, fell to Los Angeles, marking his first appearance since being sidelined by disc replacement surgery last year. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, for a limited time, get a free tire when you buy 3. That's right, buy 3, get 1 free. Valid on select tires with installation purchase. And synthetic oil changes start at only $39.99. Find your nearest store at BigOTires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are back in action tonight. They wrap up their 6-game road trip at Indiana. The Clippers are at home tonight against Toronto. The NBA Players Association wants the league to modify or get rid of the 65-game rule, the rule that requires players to play in at least 65 games to be eligible for postseason honors. The problem for the Players Association is that they agreed with the league 3 years ago to implement the 65-game rule policy. The league put the rule in place to motivate players to not miss so many games during the regular season. Several high-profile players, including LeBron, Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, will not be eligible for postseason awards because they have missed more than 17 games. LeBron has missed 18 games this season. For the first time in 21 years, he will not be eligible for selection to the All-NBA team or other honors. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. So, who's really paying the price? Scores of people dead and counting. Over 9,000 homes burned to the ground. Entire neighborhoods in Altadena gone. The Altadena Eaton Canyon fire is one of the deadliest fires in California history. And Edison's own CEO told investors the company has not identified any other possible source of ignition. In other words, they started it. So what does the man at the top walk away with? Pedro Pizarro took home $16.6 million in cash, stock, and other compensation last year, a 20% raise from the year before. Let that sink in for a moment. A 20% raise, while families in Altadena are still sifting through the ash. Now, Edison will tell you they cut executive bonuses by 40%. Sounds like accountability, right? Wrong. 6 senior executives lost an estimated $2 million in bonuses. On the very same day, the company reported $4.5 billion in profit for 2025. $2 million out of $4.5 billion. That math ain't mathing. That's not a penalty. That's a rounding error. And here's the part that should really make your blood boil. Over $1.6 billion in damages from a previous fire that SCE equipment started is now being covered not by the company, but by SCE customers just like you and me through rate hikes. The victims of utility failures are being asked to pay for the utilities' failures. Sickening, shameful, disgraceful, reprehensible. You choose your own word. The people lost everything. The CEO got a raise. The company posted record profits. And your electricity bill is going up. As you well know, KBLA Talk 1580 has been out front and unapologetic about demanding accountability for SoCal Edison. But this is far from accountability. This is the system working exactly as it was designed, just not for you. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your guest host, in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr. You can typically find me here on KBLA Talk 1580 or on your favorite podcast platform, hosting a More Perfect Union in afternoon drive time right here on KBLA Talk 1580, where we like to separate the fact from the fiction. And that's exactly what we will continue to do even within this hour. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up. You can find me on X. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Threads. You can find me everywhere at Dr. Nicordelai. I also want to encourage you to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel, because that way you don't just get to hear our brilliant guests, many of which are leaders on the front lines, but you actually get to see us in action, and you get to jump into the group chat, jump into the comments. Don't be shy. Last but not least, if you haven't already, subscribe to the KBLA app. That way you can take us with you everywhere you go. You'll have us right there in the palm of your hand. If you're running errands in and out the car, it's all right. Just tap in via the app. All right. Now, this hour, I'm really looking forward to getting into the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Esquire. The great Reverend Doctor is the principal over at the Yeary Firm, which is a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm. He also serves as senior pastor of Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. And Reverend Dr. Yeary is also the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the international human and civil rights organization founded by the late, great Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Reverend Dr. Yeary, how you doing, sir?
Well, Doc, good to be with you. I get to hang out with you. Let's see where this goes. This might be kind of fun.
I get to hang out with you, and I get to unpack some of the trending headlines, but more importantly, we get into a conversation about the politics of our faith. And just as I was reflecting on news of the day and thinking about the conversation I wanted to have with you, my mind kept coming back to Minneapolis. And I can't seem to shake the fact that there is a double agent that's at the center of this story. I'm talking about the pastor over at an evangelical church out in Minneapolis, who was also doubling as an acting ICE director in the region. This was the pastor that's at the very center of the case involving Don Lemon, involving Georgia Fort, involving Nakima Levy Armstrong, a civil rights attorney and activist. And it seems that that figure, that pastor, has faded from the headlines, while Don and Nakima and Georgia, they all caught a case from the Department of Justice. It really raises the question around what church leaders have been doing and what we need to see more Black church leaders doing to counter the rise in white Christian nationalism. When we come forward, I have a feeling that Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary has a little something to say about that. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
La, 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 la.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and really delighted to be joined with Reverend Dr. Attorney Todd Geary. He is going to be with us in short order, but I want to really just sort of lay the groundwork for folks who may be less familiar. Reverend Dr. Attorney Todd Geary. His work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network. He's the past political chair of the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP. This is someone that's in community. This is someone who, when we talk about leaders on the front lines, we got the right one. And he is here with us. Reverend Dr. Attorney Geary, welcome back.
Good to be with you. I need a hobby, so I get bored easily.
That's all right. That's all right. I mean, do you play an instrument?
Alto sax.
Oh, well, excuse me. We're talking to a Renaissance man. Let's just call it plain. So before the break, I had teed up this very troubling story that is centered in Minneapolis. I don't think we talk enough about the pastor that really was a double agent. He was serving as a pastor of a church and as acting director, regional director of ICE. I have been a little disappointed in not seeing more faith leaders, particularly from the Black church, step up, step out, call that out. We know that there is a rise in white Christian nationalism. We know that not all evangelicals are down with that, but a nice chunk of the evangelical community, a very vocal chunk of the evangelical community is down with that. What do you make of this?
Well, Doc, from your own context and experience, you know that simply because you operate within a space doesn't necessarily mean that you're loyal to it. So let's start with the fact that in a Southern Baptist church congregation, Southern Baptist theology over the generations has been quite problematic to the questions of liberation and justice, although they want to say they ebb and flow a little bit and kind of move the margins of whatever their arcane and archaic perspective might be. So that's one. But also on the other side, to address the disappointment, we never really had mass support for the modern civil rights movement from Black clergy until after Dr. King was dead. And so I think part of our challenge is that we have to make sure that we don't get so frustrated because we don't have a certain number of participants, but that we get to critical mass, right? You're not going to find but so many Jeremiah Wrights. And yes, I use his name intentionally in this moment because quite honestly, we find ourselves in a position and circumstance that he actually preached about before President Barack Obama became president. So let's just be real clear on that. I think the other thing is we have to be clear on whose theology we're using. Our theology as God talk is not universal. We're not necessarily talking about the same thing, and we're certainly not referencing the same circumstances. And so we have to make sure that we are true and authentic about being who we are, right? As Dr. Wright, Daddy J would say, I'm unashamedly Black and I'm unapologetically Christian. That doesn't necessarily mean I have an evangelical bent, because evangelical or to evangelize means to share the message. And I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. So even in the scriptures, when Jesus says to Peter, you are Peter, he changes his name. Who do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? He then says, upon this rock, I will build my church. Possessive tense, not the church, direct article. And so we're not necessarily talking about universals. We're talking about particulars. And we have to be real specific about what we're talking about and who we're talking to.
Yeah. And your point is taken. Your point is taken that just how Black people are not a monolith, neither are folks in the faith community. While many of us may embrace a Black liberation theology, not everybody does. And so your point is taken. But yet and still, the fact that you have a pastor of a church that is not being up and up about also being an acting ICE director, right? And is actually coordinating with the federal government, coordinating, these ICE raids, basically using his church as sort of an organizing ground or a recruitment ground. That's just the story that we heard about. Do you suspect that there are more places of worship across the country that may be extensions of this federal government's mass deportation campaign?
Where do we start with that question? A review of history makes it clear. The KKK started as a religious organization. Let's be very clear. They had a theological bent. Make America Great is kind of a popular theological bent. And as we are approaching on at least the Christian calendar this week, having celebrated Ramadan with our Muslim brothers and sisters, and it has now reached conclusion, Holy Week starts on Sunday. We have to remember that behind that story is the betrayal of a double agent named Judas, who sold Jesus out to the political priestly class for 30 pieces of silver. And so part of the anchor of what grounds and undergirds our theological context is the recognition that we can't become so idealistic that we don't recognize that infiltration, obfuscation, subterfuge, sabotage is often at the very root of what is trying to eat away at our organizing, at our coalition building from the inside out. And so we've got to be intentional and deliberate and not take for granted that because we have a coalition today, that it necessarily means that the coalition will be standing tomorrow.
Mm. And we know that there are sources reporting that the prosecutors, the DOJ prosecutors who are charging Don Lemon and Georgia Ford and Nikema Levy Armstrong, they've accused them of civil rights violations for disrupting a service at the city's church in St. Paul, again, where a local official was a U.S. ICE official, as well as a pastor. And so as we head into Holy Week, is it your suspicion that we may see more disruptions of services, and might we see this Department of Justice sort of pick and choose which disruptions align or don't align with their agenda and choose to prosecute?
Yeah, Big Mama used to say you expect nothing from a pig but a grunt. So the administration has kind of established who they are. That's not going to change. So anything goes in that regard. Anything that borders on the bounds of recklessness or indifference to moral norms and practices, I think we'll expect more of that. But here's where I think we are in terms of the opportunity, not just the frustration of the moment. In terms of white evangelical and even maybe white liberal religion, there's now the shock that after what we've seen in Minneapolis with 2 U.S. citizens who by appearance don't obviously appear to be other, is now causing them to have all kinds of cognitive dissonance because they've become accustomed to others, the obvious others, being not only the targets, but the recipients of state violence. Now that that's changed, this isn't George Floyd. And while we're talking about DOJ coming after Don Lemon and others, right, in their role as observers, it's the same Justice Department that is about to drop the charges against 2 of the remaining untried officers who helped to create the circumstance of the false search warrant that led to police imposing themselves on Breonna Taylor's home the night she was killed. So we got to be real clear. We cannot become historically naive simply because we've had to endure successive terms, maybe one removed from this historical revisionism. We can't become so idealistic that we forget that just because they're taking the books rather off the shelves does not mean that we should let the story escape from our minds. We got to know how we got here. We cannot forget it. And so the disruptions in church, I call that church, because when we get together, I'm trying to stir up a whole lot of stuff so that when the congregation leaves outside the doors, we're causing trouble out in these streets. And I'm not talking the kind of trouble that breaks the law, but the kind of trouble that makes the law work for the least of these.
Good trouble, as Reverend and Representative John Lewis used to oftentimes say. Talk to me about what are you hearing from members of your congregation in Baltimore? We know that this administration has been very critical of Governor Wes Moore. I've been in the Oval Office questioning President Trump, and I can tell that when you bring up anything related to Wes Moore, it seems to get under his skin. Talk to me about what you're hearing from your congregation. We know there are a lot of federal workers that live in Maryland. There are a number of folks who've been doged, and the rise in gas prices, the rise in the price of everything is squeezing everyone. What are you hearing from your congregation?
Here's what I'm hearing from a lot of my members who many of them were in their early young adult years during the modern civil rights movement. They're a bit shocked that we're back at this place so quickly. But for those that are still working, what they're amazed about is that many of their white colleagues are coming to them asking them, what do we do? Now, if we've lived through this kind of, being black in America, is still black in America. I mean, this isn't kind of a new form of what we've just had to endure since the time we first arrived here. The reality is that folks are having coping issues, and they're hearing it every day. We've had to navigate. Prices go up. When America catches a cold, Black America catches pneumonia, right? That's not a new thing. The political indifference, the overt hostility. We went through racial profiling and DWB. So the immigration extremes that we see now, it's just a variation of that. It's not shocking to us. We're just trying to figure out where were y'all the first time when it was us getting it, right? When we saw Rodney King get beat down. While somebody recorded it on a camcorder, if anybody can remember what a camcorder is. And so we're still, I used to
I can remember.
Don't tell nobody. I remember when that was the thing. So the fact that we have a young person with their phone filming the killing of George Floyd in the streets of Minneapolis is not new. It's just the newest version of what has been a long-standing old story. And so part of our responsibility when you ask about, the colleagues in the Black church writ large, white institutional training often brainwashes us. We can have a whole conversation about that. But every now and then, as I say, Jesus had 12 disciples. We know Judas was problematic. Many times when Jesus was rolling into difficult places, he took Peter, James, and John. And then when it was really, really serious, he took Peter. So Peter pretty much was always with Jesus. But we understand Peter was also the one the night that Jesus was arrested, came to Jesus's defense. And he didn't ask to borrow a knife. He drew his own sword. And so there's something about street cred. It's not an endorsement of violence. It is a recognition that when the state asserts itself violently, you have to be prepared to defend yourself against state violence. And that often requires us to have to make difficult choices and to recognize that we're probably going to operate in limited numbers.
Yeah. I mean, and even as you lay that out so well, you lay out the fact that even among Jesus's disciples, there were some weak links, right? And I think there are a number of folks in the faith community who might say that Paula White is one of those weak links. There are a number of folks who witnessed the rise of Paula White, someone who came up from poverty, someone who was not a stranger to the Black church, and someone who has evolved into a standard bearer of the Trump White House. She serves as the president's personal pastor. She also runs the White House office on faith-based initiatives. And there are folks out there that have tied her together with folks like Senator Lindsey Graham and talking about sort of the prophecy and profiteers of America's holy war. When we come forward, I want to get your reaction to that framing. Is it fair? Is it not fair? Has there been any outreach from Black church leaders to Paula White? Has there been any outreach from Paula White to Black faith leaders like yourself? More with Reverend Dr. Attorney Todd Eury. When we come forward, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is speaking publicly for the first time about the shooting death of a Loyola student, offering condolences to 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman's family.
For this particular family, that hard work did not result in their child still being here.
He condemned gun violence, praised police for their swift arrest of the suspect, and questioned the lack of comprehensive immigration reform at the federal level. Black Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker is proposing a new way to fund the school district of Philadelphia, including a $1 tax on rideshare trips. She says the plan could bring in nearly $48 million. A Cleveland police officer who was driving Black Mayor Justin Bibb during a 2024 crash is being disciplined. Officer Demetrius Woods will receive a 5-day suspension for activating emergency lights outside policy before the SUV entered an intersection and collided with another vehicle. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O Tires, for a limited time, get a free tire when you buy 3. That's right, buy 3, get 1 free. Valid on select tires with installation purchase. And synthetic oil changes start at only $39.99. Find your nearest store at bigotires.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers are back in action tonight. They wrap up their 6-game road trip at Indiana. The Clippers are at home tonight against Toronto. The NBA Players Association wants the league to modify or get rid of the 65-game rule, the rule that requires players to play in at least 65 games to be eligible for postseason honors. The problem for the Players Association is that they agreed with the league 3 years ago to implement the 65-game rule policy. The league put the rule in place to motivate players to not miss so many games during the regular season. Several high-profile players, including LeBron, Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, will not be eligible for postseason awards because they have missed more than 17 games. LeBron has missed 18 games this season. For the first time in 21 years, he will not be eligible for selection to the All-NBA team or other honors. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordoli Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordoli Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by Smart Justice because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. You typically find me weekdays in afternoon drive time from 4 to 6 p.m. As host of A More Perfect Union and White House correspondent for KBLA Talk 1580. I'm really delighted to be in conversation this hour on the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Attorney, Renaissance man, Todd Eury. He is a Maryland-based litigation and government affairs firm. He runs that firm as a principal, and he also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and its affiliates. And he is no stranger to service, having served on the national board of the National Action Network and the past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP. Reverend Dr. Attorney Eury, before the break, I was asking you about Paula White, who serves as the president's personal pastor and who leads the White House Office on Faith-Based Initiatives. Do you know Paula White?
I do not know her. I have met her, but that's been many, many moons ago before some of the transitions to her pastoral aspirations and before she really got engaged in politics. So it's an interesting role that she holds and has. I'm not sure how that role is actually being helpful to addressing the concerns that affect many in the communities where Black churches are situated.
Yeah. Well, there was an image that caught my attention a few weeks ago in the Oval Office. President Trump had invited a group of Christian leaders into the Oval Office where they gathered around him and they laid hands on him in prayer as the conflict involving Iran was continuing to escalate at that point. This image of mostly white Christian leaders. I think there is one Black man, one Black person who happens to be a Black man that I see in this image. And, you know, a lot has been written about the rise in white Christian nationalism. You know, what do you make of not just that rise in white Christian nationalism, but the role that faith leaders like Paula White may or may not be playing in terms of enabling that rise in white Christian nationalism?
One, I'm not. I don't yet have an opinion one way or the other on whether or not this is intentional conduct or just kind of circumstantial. It just happens to be that she has this role, and in fulfilling that role, it causes her to engage with key parts of the president's base, many of them very conservative in their theological perspective, but certainly formidable in terms of their political presence. And so she's engaging at that level. But since the days of the moral majority and the evolution of kind of this very conservative but politically influential bloc around interests that are often in contradistinction or contradiction to the concerns of our community, you're now beginning to find odd sort of placeholders in these roles. I'm not sure what skill set she brings to this outreach or what Rolodex comes with it. But on the flip side, if there is an opportunity to have a credible conversation, we don't have to agree on everything, but we ought to at least have a substantive conversation on anything. I'm not sure that that's the posture of this administration. And so it causes a bit of concern because I think in many ways, this administration is just saying, let's wait and see what happens with the midterm. But it's also a test for the Black church. And this is maybe, you didn't ask it, but I'll offer it. The Black church has been holding itself out as being influential in terms of moving masses of people. Well, that's a math problem. We can count that. To say it and not necessarily deliver on it undermines credibility on one hand, but it also causes us to lose, I think, a relational point with our own constituents. And so we got to be more intentional, not just saying, all right, we'll let you come talk to our congregation on a Sunday when you want to come during campaign season, come say hi and all the rest of that kind of stuff. I get it. But if it's not translating into what Reverend Jackson used to tell us all the time, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Well, if you're not in a negotiating posture because you can't mobilize your own base, then what it means is that you open yourself up to the lip service that often we criticize coming from not just this administration, but others, be they Democrat or Republican, because I don't know that there's any real confidence that as community leaders, Black clergy have grounded themselves in being able to prove that we can help, assist, encourage, mobilize those with whom we interact, those whom we pastor, to be part of the political process. And until we get good at that and consistent with that, I think that's going to be an ongoing question.
But talk to us about examples of Black churches that have gotten good with that can deliver on that. It may not be every church, it may not be every affiliate, but there are certainly some churches, some houses of worship that pass that stress test. That pass that stress test. I think it's important that we recognize that work that is afoot across the country. And I love that I'm having this conversation with you because you're a man about action, right? I mean, you're the former chair of the National Action Network. I mean, you all know quite a bit about what it takes to organize people, to keep them engaged, and to deliver results. And so talk to us about what are some examples that come to mind from different parts of the country of Black churches, Black church leaders that are creating a model for future engagement?
Well, since you're about to get me in trouble, you let me go on and invoke the name of the chair of the board of the National Action Network, who is Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and has been. So I've been on the board. I've never been the chair. And so I certainly want to acknowledge his longstanding and incredible leadership. But inside his leadership, where he has a convening every December of Black denominational leaders to have a conversation about how do we engage in a civically responsible, but a civically engaged conversation. Not just about mobilization, but just by education, awareness raising. That was Reverend Jackson's model. Many times we want folks to jump right into the marches in the streets, but we haven't yet had a conversation to say, let's talk about what's really going on in the church basement, right? Where we take what's happening in the news and we make sure that our members and community members, they may not even be members of our churches, have an opportunity to wrestle with the narrative so that when it is time to organize, when it is time to mobilize, they're not asking, why are we doing this? And so I think that's where we begin to see some of these opportunities. But it is often kind of hit and miss, sometimes a bit scattershot when we get there. And because Black churches many times are just trying to figure out how they survive, right? It's an economic model. We got to pay the bills, pay the light bill. If the light bill's going up for our members, the light bill's going up for the church too. And so I think there's some existential issues that have to be addressed, but we can't lose sight of what the mission is, which is making sure that we pave the way for generations yet unborn to have a quality of life that's better than ours.
Speaking of generations yet unborn, when we come forward, Rev, I want to hear your call to action to young people who are experiencing some despair, some disillusionment, and are looking for a path forward in a world that feels upside down. More with Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary when we come forward. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Breathe easier with the South Coast Air Quality Management District mobile app. Get real-time air quality updates, forecasts, and alerts when air quality is poor right on your phone. It's free and easy to use. Just search South Coast AQMD and download today. What's your air quality?
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit Genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis?
which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and enjoying the final moments I have in conversation with Reverend Dr. Attorney Todd Eury, who is with us today. We've been talking about the politics of faith through a number of different frames. And before the break, Reverend Dr. Eury, I was asking you about your message to young people. There are a number of folks on these internet streets and on the physical streets, many of which will take to the streets this Saturday at the No Kings protests that are happening across the country. Last I checked, there are over 3,000 No Kings rallies that are scheduled to happen across the United States to send a message to this president, to our government, and to the world that we, the people, are not aligned with what is happening in our name here at home and abroad. What's your message? What's your message to young people that are feeling bewildered and disillusioned and just not optimistic about the future?
Well, that's where it becomes really personal in many contexts. One, having young adult, older kids, and adolescent younger kids. In many ways, I've got two generations of my own who are navigating that, with a father who is a pastor and an attorney operating in a space that they're still trying to figure out, how does this thing even work? And so when I consider what to say to them, I think about what would I say to my own kids? And a lot of that has come by way of what I have gleaned and what I've experienced. Dr. King came to leadership in his mid-20s. He wasn't a seasoned leader when the Montgomery bus boycott happened. He was actually just kind of the de facto choice because many of the pastors who had spent more time in Montgomery felt that they had too much to risk. And so he got voluntold. After the success of that, though, we begin to see John Lewis. When John Lewis rises, Bloody Sunday, he's a young man. When Reverend Jackson helps to desegregate the public library in Greenville, South Carolina, he's in his late teens. And so really social change, when we think about not just young brothers, young sisters, right, in the movement, working along, SNCC, CORE, SCLC, very often not mentioned by name, right? When we think about the role, how do you even get to a Montgomery bus boycott if you don't have a young sister and a working sister both having the same sensibility that they've got to challenge? And so what I think to say to them is what Paul says to Timothy. When Paul says to Timothy, this is what you got to say. You got to stay on message. Don't get distracted about what the moment is all about, But then Paul says to Timothy, and don't let people look down upon you simply because you're young. You have a place in the movement. As a matter of fact, this is your movement. Because if you're not in position to help carry forward the principles that are about the best of who we are as a people, then the movement fails. And so I think many times we make this a tug of war. We need seniors and young people together. If you ever hear Freeman Rabowski's story, who, after he's now recently retired as the president of UMBC, great mathematician, genius in so many ways, in Birmingham, it was when he went and told his parents he wanted to go to the march. And I think he was maybe 12, not even 13. Find your place and get in place. And the discussions about whether or not you belong, we'll hold those for another time. But looking down on you is not what's required in this moment. We need all hands on deck because this next reality affects all of us.
We do need all hands on deck. And I think sometimes that means that institutions need to consider doing things differently. I'm not saying we throw our traditions out with the bathwater, but I'm saying that part of what I observed and part of what I have heard from so many leaders on the front lines that I've spoken to across generations is that sometimes the sort of institutional hazing that folks are forced to go through, at a time where we need all hands on deck, that institutional hazing can get in the way too, no?
Well, it can, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily have to try to fit a round peg in a square hole, right? Sometimes it is, if there isn't a place that is welcoming to you, you go cultivate your own place. That's how we came up with some of these distinctions around these organizations. You wouldn't have a SNCC or a CORE if it was, all right, we got to figure out how to get everybody in the same place. We're trying to get everybody principled in the forward moving action. And if that means we have to embrace the development and the cultivation of new organizations, new opportunities for folks to lead in this space, then so be it. The more the merrier is probably the perspective that I would bring until we all get to where we're supposed to be.
In our remaining minutes with you, I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about your spiritual practice. What are you doing these days? If you're doing anything differently, what are you doing these days to stay grounded? There are a lot of demands on your time and your intellect, your curiosity and creativity. What are you doing to stay grounded, and what can you offer us?
Don't waste time. None of us knows what time it is ultimately on the clock of our lives. We all get prospectively 24 hours in a day, 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. Don't waste time, because the last thing you want to do is to look back on the time that is now behind you and realize that you've got regret because you could have put that time to good use and made a difference. And instead, you're trying to play catch up. So make the most out of today. Every moment matters. And so make this moment matter for you and for others, and we'll all be better for it.
Well, every moment matters and every hour matters. I am very grateful for the time that you have given us today. Reverend Dr. Attorney Todd Yeary, the principal of the Yeary Firm, also senior pastor at Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. I mentioned that he was chair. He's political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of NAACP. He's just on the board of the National Action Network, but serving on the front lines nonetheless. We thank you for your time, for your work, and your witness.
Thanks for hanging out with me. Let's do it again real soon.
Can't wait. You've been listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. That's all the time we have today. Thanks to the entire village that helped us produce the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, including our executive producer, Gina A. Towns, to our technical director, Taz, to our sound engineer, Miles, and each and every one of you, we thank you. And we'll be back same place, same time tomorrow. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your guest host, and you've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.